Hello everyone, Ladislas Maurice from thewanderinginvestor.com. So today I'm very excited about this conversation. I'm with Mikkel from the Expat Money Show.
Hello everyone, Ladislas. Super happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
So we have Panama City in our backdrop where Mikkel spends most of the year?
Yeah, I spend a good amount of the time. We're at Ocean Reef. It is really beautiful here. These are the man-made islands off the coast of Panama City, and nice day, beautiful day.
Today we'll be discussing international schooling for children. So it's an issue that is crucial for people who travel a lot and who move to other countries, is what happens to their children's schooling. So typically when you go overseas, there are a few options. You either put your kids in the local schools, which may or may not be an option depending on the country, or you put your children in these very expensive private international schools. Typically those schools are at least $20,000. The cheapest I've seen is maybe $15,000, but generally $20,000 to $30,000 per kid per year.
Yeah, starting at kindergarten and going from that. And then when you get into high school, they grow exponentially.
So it can get very expensive. So sometimes homeschooling is an option as well, which may or may not be accepted in some jurisdictions. So it's a very complex space. And Mikkel and one of his business partners have recently started the
Expat International School. It really started from seeing a lot of the problems that you're discussing, but actually it goes a lot deeper than that. So if you like, we can start with kind of some of the challenges and reasons people might look at alternative forms of education, and then we can kind of go from there.
Sure, let's do this.
Okay, so as you said, the price can be prohibitive for a lot of people. If you have 2, 3, 4 children and the schools start at $30,000 a year at kindergarten or grade 1, and then you have to put the kids all the way through. Now, sometimes as an international family, mom gets a job overseas, dad gets a job overseas, and there might be some type of education budget in there, but not always. So that can help mitigate on some fronts. But another problem that happens a lot with the expat families is they might go overseas for, say, 2 years. They might be in Dubai for 2 years, and then mom gets transferred to Hong Kong, and then they move over there, and then they're in London for a couple of years, or they're in Frankfurt for a few years. Well, the children actually have to say goodbye to their friends every single time. Now, it was one thing to get your kids on the move the first go, but once they get settled in a new place, they probably don't want to leave again. And even if you can convince them that time, moving the third time makes it really difficult. With our school, it's completely online, so they stay with the same kids.
I had to go through this myself. On average, when I was a child, I had to change schools and countries every 2 years.
Exactly. So there you go.
I think I turned out all right, but yeah, it wasn't easy, for sure. It wasn't easy.
So those are some of the problems. So we tried to look at all of these challenges that face an international family and try to come up with solutions for all of them. Something else that is going on is that the public education back in Europe or in North America, a lot of people don't agree with what is happening with mask mandates, with these, you've seen the memes of the kids and they've got the hula hoops around them and they have to social distance, and they're singing these songs about doing the zombie walk and things like this because they're so worried about the kids interacting. I don't believe in any of these types of things. I think that this is really criminal what they're doing to kids, and I think that there's a lot of agenda that's pushed in the schools. With our school, we've been really upfront. Our main focus is on liberty, on freedom, on entrepreneurship, on personal responsibility. These are our core values. So if you share those types of same core values, then you probably want to put your child in an institution, in an organization, I should say, that respects these.
So it is a bit political as well. It's just you've chosen your side of things.
The school itself is not political. We don't talk about politics, but our values are upfront. We don't pretend to be otherwise. I think that this is a good way to go about things, and I think that more organizations should do this.
Well, your value proposition is clear.
Yes, correct.
You have an international school. It's essentially online.
Correct.
How does it work concretely?
Okay, so what most online school programs do, or most homeschooling programs do, is it is a video program. Your kids watch the program, then they might have some homework assignments, but what happens if they have questions? What happens to socialization and making friends and things like this? All of that is left by the wayside. For us, we do pods. So we do a maximum of 15 kids. They get on a video call and they interact with each other all day long. We have different guides. We don't even call them teachers. They're guides, and they're there to support your child. We have 3 programs. We have the novice program that goes from ages 6 to 11, the middle school program that goes 11 to 14, and the high school program that goes 14 to 19 years old. And in some of the classes, we actually mix them. So you hear we didn't do grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So all the kids are not with exactly their same age. There might be 2-3 years on either side, which is actually beneficial, so that the older kids get a chance to be responsible and take care of the younger kids, and the younger kids get to model the behavior of the older kids.
Doesn't it slow down the development of the older kids to be with younger kids?
No, I don't think so, because first of all, we're not doing rote memorization. We don't do things based on tests or grade scores or anything like that. We're doing a lot on understanding and persuasive ideas. We built everything on Socratic thought. So we take an idea like, what is honesty? What is hope? What is ethics? And we have conversations based around these types of ideas. The older students get a chance to communicate their ideas and try to persuade and argue and fight over things. And you will, if you spent time with high school kids, you will know that they love to argue and they love to fight in a constructive way. You know, we make sure things are done in a friendly manner, but we do encourage these types of behavior. It is not just a top-down rote memorization for the kids. Having different types of age groups in there is actually a benefit. Because can you give me any example in life where you were with people who are only your age?
Yeah, I agree. Is that why you call them guides and not teachers?
Yes, a lot of the guides, first of all, did not go to teachers' college. They did not spend 5 years in university learning how to teach. Actually, our guides went out into the business world, built a business, did something with their own 2 hands, created something, and that's who we take on. So although we have some of our teachers, our guides, that have massive amounts of experience, they come from different types of backgrounds. It is either from the business world, or if they have experience in teaching, it's from a Montessori background or these types of things. It's not from public education.
And where are they from, typically?
So, great question. We have a lot of them from the United States and Canada, but we also have from Guatemala, from Honduras, from Mexico. We're doing a lot in Latin America. Obviously, a lot of expat families like to move down to Latin America, so we put in a lot of the language. We try to look at different cultures. Some of our guides are Americans, but they've been living overseas for 20 years. We have one in Thailand. We have all over the world.
So from a time zone point of view, you really target the North American markets, or essentially the Americas?
At the moment, yes. So right now we run on Central Time because it's just easy, because we have a lot on the West Coast, we have a lot on the East Coast. But as the school grows, we're going to be introducing a European time zone. That will probably be happening in upcoming September. Then the following year, inshallah, we will also do an Asian time zone. So we'll have 3 major time zones. But saying that, we still have kids who are all over the world. We have a girl in Pakistan. She starts school at something like 7 o'clock at night, and she does 4 or 5 hours of school, and that's the sacrifice that she's decided to make. Her family really wants her in this program. She really wants to be in this program, so it makes sense. We have another family in Oman, same type of thing. So a lot of the kids make a decision about this themselves. They're not being forced to go into these programs. They're not being pushed. This is something that they want to do. And if that means staying up late at night, well, that's life, you know.
Isn't it too much screen time, though, for children?
Okay, the screen time is something that we have to deal with. We don't spend the entire, say, 5-6 hours a day just in front of the screen. I'll give you an example. So we mail out science kits. So we might do the explanation and talk about and discuss what we're going to be doing with the science project. Then the kids go out and they have 45 minutes, an hour to do the experiments, write down their notes, then they come back and share things. We have a PE class where the kids have wearable devices if the family chooses, and they go out there and do activities. We do a lot of things to integrate and make sure that it's not too much screen time. And add to that, the screen time that they are getting is interacting with other human beings. So it's not just receiving information like watching Netflix or playing video games, which are highly addictive. This is talking and discussing ideas all day long with your peers, with people who are just slightly ahead of you in the age groups which we discussed before. So we do ways of mitigating this because I know it is a common concern for people.
So what kind of certificate do children actually get? So let's say my child goes and enrolls in your school for grades 2 and 3, and then I decide that the kid will then go to an international school. What sort of certificate or equivalences do the children actually receive for their education?
A lot of parents are very concerned about these types of things, about where they're going to fit in later in life, how they're going to go back into the system if that is the path for them. So first of all, we have two main programs. We have an accredited and a non-accredited program. Personally, I like the non-accredited program a lot more. With the accreditation program, we do have to do some types of tests and some type of standard grading. At the moment, we're using the US system because my business partner, that's where a lot of me and my business partner are both from North America, so that's the system that works well for us. We have looked at the British system of grading, but at the moment we're doing the US side. Our accredited program is actually done through the school board in Maine, so it will be exactly the same as any other type of high school program or middle school program, same type of grading system, everything like this. Now, with the non-accredited program, we don't do a lot of the grading, we don't do these types of things, but we do a report so the parents know what the child is working on.
So wait, no grading?
Correct. On the non-accredited program, we don't do grading, but we do reports so that they know what's going on, where they're getting along, what they're struggling with, what we need to spend more time on, all of these types of things.
So no actual grades, no you got a grade 1, grade 2, whatever.
Correct.
Isn't that a bit radical? What's your thinking behind that?
Personally, I don't find it radical because first of all, you have two choices, as I said. You have the accredited or non-accredited program. With the non-accredited program, the one we're discussing, which we don't do grading, there's report after report that say that standardized testing does not work.
Even for maths?
So even for maths, even for a lot of these problem solving, our kids have a very high advanced level of mathematics and problem solving. Actually, we have kids who are in 14, 15, 16 years old who have gotten into MIT, gone into very high-level elite math programs through university at teenage years. The kids are put through a very rigorous math and math techniques program where they really understand things. And you also have to understand that we do a lot of projects with the kids. So it's based on what they need. If they say that they want to go forwards and be an engineer or an architect or something like this, then we'll know what their math requirements are going to be. If your child wants to grow up and be a dancer or a professional pool player or an artist or an entrepreneur, well then we can gauge their math level and what they need to bring it in line with what their goals are. Does that make sense?
I hope sending my daughter to your school won't result in her wanting to be a dancer.
No.
Put it this way.
Every child has their own path, and our job is to support them in that path.
So what final graduation exam or certificate do children receive once they graduate from high school to then go to university?
So what most universities are looking for right now is unique candidates. There's a culmination of two things. First of all, it's your SAT scores, which we do an immense amount of SAT prep if that is the path for your child. As I said, if it is not the path, if your child and the family decides they don't want to go on to university, then we don't force it. But for those that do want to go to university, we do SAT prep and on a regular basis. So the child's scores on SAT are considerably higher. And the projects that the kids do are interesting. So when they sit down for admissions and they write their cover letter, the child has a much more unique position. We've had kids who have gone through and built the website for the American Idol finalist. They were using it for their business. They ended up getting fired, which was an amazing experience for the child to see how this works, to get let down from a job. You know, all of these types of things go in the cover letter when applying for a university. As I said, we've had a family, the child went to MIT. We've had many elite colleges and universities in the United States and internationally that they've gone on to, and there is a path forward for that if it is right for the family.
Okay, because I'm not too sure universities in Europe would be that flexible. So for the US, Canada, Australia, I can see how the admissions office would be more flexible. But in Switzerland, for example, I don't think that would roll.
Well, with an SAT score, usually there's a translation or an equivalent that they'd be able to take when moving overseas, because American families move overseas all the time, every day, with their child and has to implant them in a foreign system. So that's really not a problem. What it's going to come down to is the story and understanding where they came from. This is not I would say is not a radical school at all. It is a very highly flexible school where we really take the child's needs and the family's wants into consideration. We run at a very high academic level. The children are running at advanced math skills, advanced communication, advanced reading, writing, and comprehension of reading material. They're usually much further ahead, and we're able to showcase this when applying for universities.
Clear. And what about class sizes? One of the most important questions that I should have asked earlier.
So class sizes, we do a maximum of 15 students per class, and that will be with one teacher. Now, we do have classes that might run with 12 kids or 11 kids or something like that. Now, when I went to school, there were 32 kids in my program, and I was even talking to a family recently. Their child was born and raised in Thailand. There was 60 kids per teacher. At that point, you really are not teaching anything, you're not helping, you're not guiding. It's just crowd control. It's just herding cats all day long. And when they came into our program, they were severely behind. Now, over the last 3 or 4 months, we've brought them up to speed quite quickly. We have a lot of work to do, but the advancement in the child's education is drastic and noticeable.
So this is all great, but do you have a background in education?
No, absolutely not. I am an entrepreneur. I build businesses. I came at this from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Now, my business partner, on the other hand, his name is Mikkel Strong. He is one of the most world-famous curriculum developers in the world. He has over 35 years experience. He built Montessori's in something like 7 or 8 different states in the United States. He literally wrote the book on Socratic thought. He's a twice published author on education. He has a massive amount of experience, and he does a lot of the curriculum design. I've come in from the entrepreneurial side to help the families, and as well come from the expat and international side. I've been an expat. I've been living overseas for over 21 years straight now, and this is something that I actually had to develop for my family. I have 2 children, and I come from a homeschooling background. I did not want my kids to go to traditional education or public education, and when I met Mikkel, when he came on my podcast, he described his ideas as homeschooling or unschooling by professionals, and this really spoke to me, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a great way to approach it. So we started discussing things and decided how we're going to come together to create something to solve a lot of these problems that we discussed at the beginning of this conversation.
So he takes care of the education and you do the marketing?
I do marketing, sales, websites, webinars, these types of things. I have a huge audience, so I'm actually bringing this to my audience. I am not a teacher. I don't pretend to be a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. I do help out things like I work with the kids as a mentor. So I have some teenagers that I work with, and we meet on a weekly basis, and they bounce ideas, they have questions, I'm there to support them. I have an integral part of the school, but I'm not running the classes myself. That is not my place, that is not my strength. And I think that in everything in life, we should always speak to our strengths.
You should probably teach the marketing class.
I could definitely teach the marketing class. I could definitely do that one. Yeah.
And your own children, do they attend?
So the program, as I said, is from 8 to 19 years old. At the moment, my daughter is 5 years old, so we have another couple of years of homeschooling. Then she will be enrolling for sure. My son is only 7 months old, so he's got a ways to go for sure.
Cool, fantastic. Great. So if you're interested in finding out more about the international school, there is a link below, and Mikkel will send you the whole information package as well as the price list depending on ages, correct?
Yeah, and depending on the accredited or non-accredited program, we have It's dependent if you pay on a one-time payment. We have payment plans. We have different things like this. We're really flexible all around with the program to try to accommodate the families.
Great. And then Mikkel also has a very good podcast called the Expat Money Show. The link is below.
Yes. And Ladislas was a guest on my show probably 2 or 3 years ago, probably 2 years ago at this point. You guys should go check out that episode. It was a good one.
Cool. All right, Mikkel.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.